Talk about all that. I'm not for no one. I'm not. Ladies and gentlemen, again, please take your conversations outside or cease them.
All right, Madam Clerk. 326-17.
Resolution 326-17, a resolution authorizing the county mayor on behalf of Hamilton County to enter into and execute all documents relative to a lease agreement with Jailhouse Properties LLC for the occupancy and operational use of the former Hamilton County Justice Center located at 601 Walnut Street, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and a related parking lease for spaces in the adjacent county-owned parking garage.
Any lights?
No, sir.
No lights, we'll move on.
No, wait. Do you want to? Commissioner, it's up to you. I do see those in the audience. I don't know if they wanted to make a comment or if you wanted to. Oh, there, look at that. We got a few lights starting to pop up.
Okay.
Thought if I paused long enough that we'd see
Hey,
a little.
Chairman, if you'd like.
Sorry, Mr. Lehman.
I'll just give a few specifics. There was a presentation done. I know Mr. White will be more than happy. I was going to kind of update on some changes, if you remember, or at least update it or give you a little bit of information as we step into this. If you remember, Mr. White came and gave a presentation on January 7th to this commission, and the follow-up to that was a lease agreement. So that's what you've got today. A few differences from what we talked about before is there is now an annual rent payment of $375,000 that will be due by the tenant, which will be Jailhouse Studios, to the county. That has a 3% increase each year for the term. It's also a 35-year lease agreement with some options for 10-year renewals or 5-year renewals. So I wanted to mention that as a specific. The only other thing I'd like to mention, just as you look at the lease agreement, and Mike Kirk with our Department of Property Management is here. He can talk specifics about the lease from an owner's perspective or a landlord perspective. I know Mr. White can from a project perspective, but I do want to make one piece of information relative to some comments. We're not approving a project or approving a use as part of this lease agreement. We're leasing it to Jailhouse Studios to develop. Now, there are some stipulations that protect the county in the lease agreement as you look at it. There are some construction milestones that are required for Mr. White. That protects us to make sure that that building is not still sitting vacant and a liability to the county that it is now. So he'll have some milestones that he'll have to meet or the lease reverts. There's also some other things, failure to pay rent. And then the big thing relative to the project, there are some use restrictions, just like you would have with any type of rental property. There are some things that he cannot do. He can't do anything that's out of zoning. He can't do anything illegal. He can't do anything, non-compliant. He can't do, and there's about 19 other stipulations of things he can't do, not just, obviously, there's certain things that the county wouldn't want to happen over here. He's been more than forthright in telling us what the project is. I'll only mention one other thing. It's been sitting vacant and dormant since 2021, and we've done a lot of work to try to get somebody that would be interested in an adaptive reuse that didn't cost the county anything. I'll tell you that he pays for everything relative to getting any renovations done in the building for building systems, for all renovation. He pays all the utilities, and so there's not a lot of, there is some liability obviously as owner, but there's not any financial liability term to term or year to year relative to the lease. So I wanted to just make some specifics on our thoughts in developing this lease for an adaptive reuse, because our other alternatives are to spend county funds either to raise the building because it's a liability, or to spend probably the amount that Mr. White's gonna do in redevelopment to redevelop. So I just wanted to open with that, and I think Mr. White or Mr. Kirk may have some additional comments.
Just a minute, Mr. White. Hey, Commissioner, there's lights. Do you want to go to those, or would you like to hear from Mr. White first?
Sure. Can you guys hear me all right? Jimmy White, President of Urban Story Ventures. First off, I think we have a video we want to show you guys, but, you know, and it may address some of the concerns, some of the questions here, but I directly want to address those as well. So, you know, look, Chattanooga has something nobody else in the world has, and that's quantum. We've talked about it, right? Everyone in this room has a cell phone. Everyone in this room is probably on social media. I know I've seen some of the comments on Reddit and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all these other social media outlets that I'm not on because I'm not cool enough, but I am on a few. So, but at the end of the day, we've got self-drive cars coming. We've got, you think about just Spotify alone, the Sirius satellite radio, all these things require data, right? And that's not going to change. When I was a kid, cell phones used to be in the back of the trunk, and they went to the console in our car, and now we carry them around in a pocket, and they do a lot more than make phone calls. To think that technology has not advanced in the data world, in the data server and storage world, that would not be a correct assumption, right? Now, the one in Scottsboro, Alabama, that was 1 million square feet, built by Google, maybe, right? We're talking about 10,000 square foot boxes that use 1 to 1.5 megawatts of power. This courtroom is using more than that. That's how far technology has come. And so at the end of the day, when we're talking about film and music, the server / data room that I use interchangeably because I'm not the tech guru in this group, that's what it's going to service in the jail specifically. But it's the smallest portion of what we're doing. We're not putting more power in there to service the data. I want to make that abundantly clear. Let me make something else abundantly clear. I've been doing development work in the city of Chattanooga and revitalization of buildings like this for 13 years. The Edney building, same thing. Bought that 100% empty from TVA, bought into the Innovation District, breathed new life back into it, and created hundreds of jobs. We take care of 180 businesses every day across our portfolio. We are job creators. That's what we do. That's what gets me out of bed every day. You look at Novonix coming to the Bend. They're looking at the other site next door. Honestly, quite frankly, probably not the highest and best use, right? But at the end of the day, we attracted Novonix here. We've got Lincoln Electric on site. We've created 1,200 real jobs at the Bend. That's hard work, right? And at the end of the day, that's why I'm standing here today, to do the hard work and recruit jobs that aren't here, right? And we have always used local contractors. And I can give you a laundry list of them. Right now, Callahan, Lawson Electric, Tinker Ma, Fore Construction that moved here from Birmingham. The list goes on. Those are all folks that are already engaged in on the deal, right? And we bid out every single project. And I would prefer to use local contractors than regional ones anyway, just because I do want to support the economy. I'm an employer here, right? So at the end of the day, I wanted to address that before we show you a video. But I believe that film and music, I believe that creating a place for our artists here locally to grow, so they don't have to go to Atlanta, they don't have to go to Nashville, they don't have to go to LA, right? We are between the largest film industry in the world, and we're between the largest music industry in the world, and we have something they don't. And that's the fastest internet in the world in quantum. And tens of millions of dollars have been invested by EPB, Oak Ridge National Labs, this community, into that infrastructure. And so do we let it go to waste, or do we capitalize that? So with that being said, I think we have a video we want to show you here of our vision for the jail, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions.
And Chattanooga's changed. It's a different city. It has a different feel about it. And so that's why I keep thinking with Jailhouse Studios is why not here?
It started as a theater. It turned into a jail, right? Then one thing kind of led to another.
Literally taking kind of a place that was not a fun place to be, obviously, and recreating that environment and give voice to our artists here.
There must be something in the air because Just feel so creative. Everybody was saying that.
For me, it's about the kids. Like we're teaching these kids from 6th grade to 12th grade.
These are the next generation.
And this is that happening at the highest level.
To make certain that that child believe in its potential.
And art makes cities great. You want art. You want art at the highest level. That's what makes cities truly awesome.
612 people have signed a petition. At heart, many of us are scared.
This could be an opportunity for only a few men to benefit while making vague promises that they do not intend to fulfill.
So if people hinder what the city's capable of, that would be heartbreaking.
Now, Oracle, Guitar Center, Off the Gate Studios, Rodney, when it's all said and done, you're well over $1 billion right now.
This will be the most high-end classroom in existence, where it's like, that's where you go to learn. That's the magic.
This will be a staple in the community to help kids make the right choice.
It really is about the next generation, and everybody sparks in that same spot.
This whole thing represents an opportunity to bring real jobs for creators in Chattanooga.
The buzzwords of this last couple of years is the word chat, and I think it's time. I think, God is saying it's time for chat.
And this is a generational impact.
That's a docuseries that is currently being looked at by HGTV, Paramount, I think you can say that now, revolving around this project and what's happening here in Chattanooga and for the next generation. So anyway, happy to answer any questions, concerns, thoughts, otherwise.
Commissioner Shipley, I have a number of lights here. Sir, do you want me to take those? Commissioner Beck?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, as I said before, I worked 10 years in that jail, and I saw so many evil things happening in that jail. And for you to send representatives the last time to talk about it, and you're here today to present this video, wow, it just gives me goose pimples to think about that evil place turning into a very progressive place for jobs and for career development. Somebody said something about promise of jobs and so many jobs and whatever that. I don't think anybody in our county ever reached the job expectations that they ever proposed, but we love revenue coming in to this county. And the idea of that $300 and some odd thousand coming, and that jail's been sitting there all these years and nothing has been happening. In fact, as Todd said, all of the stuff we've had to show up with and repair in that place. Anyway, thank you. Let me just say thank you for even considering our city. Thank you for considering developing that jail. You guys along, I think I heard from you all the last time, and the fine words that you all said about the possibilities over there. Wow. And it would just amaze me if anybody would vote against this. So I'm not speaking for everybody, but I certainly will support it. And all of the influence that I may have in my district,
Thank you,
will
sir.
support this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Highlander?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Lehman, for your succinct presentation. I think it's very positive, and thank you for yours. You did relieve some of my concerns. You said you want to go with local workers, and thank you for that, rather than importing people from out of town. The one question I had is I have several of my former students that are in the Musicians Union. Are we working in conjunction with the Musicians Union?
The Musicians Union is typically affiliated with live music production. While we are not directly affiliated with them, we are paying far and above what is typically associated with any live or session related opportunity for producers and creators.
So in other words, you would or would not work with them?
I'll definitely have a conversation, but we haven't had any direct meetings yet.
Okay.
But I've got a fiscal history that I can present showing that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Good, sir. Commissioner Hilton.
Thank you. In the resolution, it speaks to leasing parking spaces in the garage. It's kind of already a tight squeeze at some time during the day. Do you have any numbers on that? How many spaces? This, I guess, more of a Todd Lehman question.
Yeah, and I'll let Mike
Yeah.
specifically.
Like, it's 35 spaces. Okay. On the top deck, I think in the south corner of the top deck that are almost always open. Okay, thank you, sir.
Commissioner Mackey.
Thank you, Chair. Lehman, Mr. Lehman, he said it already. Hamilton County won't be paying for what they're doing, correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
And they will foot the bill by way of, say, repair?
Well, I'll let Mr. White talk about it, but the building systems are currently down. Most of you understand the current condition of the building, and so there's quite a bit of work that they'll have to do, and that is all as part of their redevelopment costs. Yes, sir.
Do you care to comment?
Sure. Yes, sir. No, 100% of the cost will be incurred by us. It is a big lift, you know. Anytime you take on a project like this, it's going to have a lot of moving pieces. But yeah, our plan is to get going now. We have demo contracts in place. We know those numbers. We have layouts and designs done. We have LED panels on order, or the LED volume screen you've seen. But,
Yeah, I got to tell you, I can't wait to vote in favor of trying to move this forward. All of the boxes seem to be checked. The labor force is local. They're working together. In fact, I see the union guys in the back of the room already talking to each other. And I'm just excited of what I think is going to come here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Sharp.
Thank you, Chairman. I was still jotting down what I wanted to say. Guys, thanks for being here.
Thank you, sir.
This is exciting. I mean, the presentation was cool too.
It's these guys, not me.
Yeah. And thank you for meeting with me previously, talking about some of the stuff. We appreciate your time, and it was helpful. You know, I know some of us met recently with EPD. Part of that conversation was, you know, what type of power availability do we have for this type of venture. A lot of communities are witnessing a real draw on the power availability, and the 1 to 1.5-ish megawatts is what they had said. And I think they said the quote, I don't want to quote them, but it was something like it's barely a blip on our power availability, which was very comforting to me to hear that, and happy to share that. I hope that sets some mind to these. There is a lot of fear, I think, in the community right now, not just here, but nationally, probably globally, particularly around proliferation of AI. A big technology executive earlier this week was quoted saying that he can foresee the United States with 20% unemployment. And that's pretty terrifying.
Yes, sir.
That's going to take, I don't even know, smarter people than me to address that. But so I understand a lot of the apprehensions. I think you guys do too. We talked about some of this. You know, I appreciate you talking about local hire. I've got a tremendous amount of respect for that. You know, I mean, we have, you know, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, what is it, Local Business Tuesday, something like that, you know, around the holiday season. It's well known that every dollar spent with a local business circulates throughout the community, I think, 7 times or more, compared to like none from outside organizations. But so that's huge for our community. And to think, and I don't want to quote you here, but what the number of the investment in this property? What are we looking at?
You know, at the end of the day, I think we're going to be at $80 to $100 million. I think that was my number before. It hasn't deviated much. A lot of that is equipment, right? I mean, a lot of that is related to the green screens or LED volume. Sorry, I'm still learning. You know, but yeah, I think right at an $80 to $100 million project. And that's once we get into the structure. I mean, the thing that needs a complete overhaul, right? All new mechanicals. You know, we're gutting pretty much every floor except for the floors we're keeping with jails there. And we're keeping there's a chapel on the 5th floor that all the artists wanted to keep, so we're keeping that. But you know, at the end of the day, it is a big rehab project. But yeah, $80 to $100 million.
So, and I know all that equipment's incredibly expensive.
Yes, sir.
What do you intend? What do you anticipate the renovation to be work for local workers?
Job count?
Yeah, well, not my job count is great. I mean, I expect that you have, maybe you don't want to talk about it. I don't know, but
No,
out of that $100 million, you know, it's 40 million of that to local contractors.
I'd say closer to 60.
60.
Michael,
I would say we're probably looking at 20 to 30 million in equipment.
Okay.
So the rest of that, like the team we assembled is all local. Some of your engineers, architects, construction, the rest of the contractors. I mean, everybody's all local. So as far as the outsourcing jobs, I mean, we've already got the plan in place, and then once this terrific is approved, we're ready to start like the next step. Right. So we've got everything lined up. We're just waiting to get approved.
That's great. I'm glad to hear
One
that.
thing I will comment on the power that you were talking about earlier, that's a big thing. The only power that's going to be added to the jail is what's going to be needed for the film and recording. The power that's there is just for the data center source.
Well, I mean, I can say EPB did not flinch.
Sure.
They didn't flinch. So you guys are ready to hit the road, running with this. When do you intend on putting these projects out to bid? I think that's something that'd be critically important
we've got
for local contractors to understand.
yes, sir. We'll get a permanent set drawings done in 90 to 120 days, probably. We've already preliminary spent money on the jail, you know, on the hope that we would get to this point. So we've already done full building scans and those kind of things. So we're ahead of the curve. Like I said, we already got demo quotes. The same guys that are demoing the Titan Stadium came down here, and it's called Tiny, ironically enough, which they're not. They're a huge company. But anyway, you know, we source everybody locally that we can, because at the end of the day, I get that. I mean, we're employers here. You know, we've got employees out of Valley Brook, and so at the end of the day, you know, if the talent is here, we will source that here. If we don't have that, then we've got to go out to market to bring it. But you know, as far as some of the jobs that we're talking about, or create it, that's right, right, and that's the hope here, is create those jobs, right? Because they don't currently exist. You know, but Kessler can talk about it. Our partner Dan Kretz with Optigate Studios, where he owns Trilogy Studios in Dallas. In 4 years, they created 4,000 jobs, and now 27 stages from one. That's, by the way, where Taylor Sheridan, maybe some of the folks have seen some of his shows that are out there. That's where all those things are being shot. Now, the other thing he's doing there is car processing, right? He's going to move all that here. When you think about Chattanooga, that's another bullseye that we are in the middle of, is all the major car manufacturers. We've got Volkswagen here. You bring in Toyota, Mercedes, BMW, the Blue Oval, I mean, of course, Volkswagen. But I mean, at the end of the day, you know, those video bills will be shot here, right? And then music videos, right? All being done, Big Machine and all those things in Dallas right now. Well, they're on either side of it. The talent's on either side of it, right? Atlanta and Nashville. So why not here? So that's the kind of things you'll see here that we already know are coming. That's because our partners have said they're bringing them here.
And this is a great idea. I'm really excited. I want you to know.
Yes, sir. 100%.
But you know, these are public resources.
Sure.
And you know, I feel an obligation to question.
100%.
You know, so for, if not only for myself, but for the people that I represent here, we've had most of this conversation, I think, privately already.
Yes,
and and Kessler, I know that you work closely with the local school system, Hamilton County School.
Yes, sir.
And it's my understanding that you anticipate expanding some of those programs.
100%.
Okay. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for asking because I wanted to talk about it. So most of you know me from my work in education and serving schools. There are different nonprofits and projects we've launched. So this whole thing was actually born out of that originally because the city wanted to give us a building, and I was like, oh, if the holes in the roof, HVAC goes out, I got to pay for it, right? Even though it's a nonprofit serving kids, and we came with a business model, which ultimately led to all this happening, which is great. So this whole project collectively was born quite literally out of serving kids and trying to create economic development, workforce development opportunities. Presently, we're serving in 11 different schools. We've expanded. We're about to announce it. I guess this counts as public. So we're going to announce a pretty big rollout with Chat State with new career pathway or new degree pathways there. They've already got film and media. We're going to expand that further to additional commercial media opportunities, but also, we're working towards the music economy side of the rollout. We're also talking with other universities, and once I have things signed with them, I'll say who that is, but there's not a lot of them in Chattanooga, so you can probably figure out who that is. So at present, we're going to be offering full-time programs, 6th grade, all the way into 2 years of college. And hopefully if this other thing pans out, a full four-year, so middle school through 4-year degree pathway. And this will all be tied directly to what we're doing here. So instead of learning from a book, you'll get some of that, but you'll be learning in the field.
That's great. I appreciate you speaking to that. One of the other things that we talked about previously is concern about some comments made around organized labor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a union guy, right? I was raised on union money.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the middle class built this nation that we live in,
mm-hmm.
and I know that unions built the middle class in this nation. And that's something that has been slipping through the fingers of workers for generations now, particularly in the Southeast. And I think that there was the feeling that maybe you weren't understood completely in those comments.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's one of my largest fears as a public facing figure is the fear of being misunderstood. Always like to operate under the assumption that folks are coming from a place of positive intention, and I try to speak words only of positive intention. It's not always perceived that way, but I think that's how we build these good faith working relationships. And if you could speak to that a bit about rates for folks who work in the film industry, be it Atlanta or Los Angeles, or let's say Hamilton County, Tennessee, what does that look like for people who work in the music and film industry?
Mm-hmm. Good question. So first off, I've been protected by unions before in previous work, so I do support them, and they protected me from predatory employers and people who are treating me poorly for whatever reason. It's just one of those things, but they did protect me, which was awesome. So so for my line of work and the entertainment and creative economies, I've done a lot of work in Atlanta. Atlanta has, just being completely frank, as a person who's been protected by unions, the way the unions came into a lot of what's been happening in Atlanta has actually led to the mass exodus from shooting content in Georgia. It's really unfortunate, honestly, because I do believe in protecting people's rights, but in my case, I like to move quickly, and a lot of people know that about me, and it stresses them out. So, and I know my heart, and I've got a long track record of presenting that and putting my money way in front of where my mouth is, to a fault. And, we'll work with whoever we need to work with. But the plan is that when you pay people, it's industry standard. So it's not like you come in on set in Chattanooga, making a Chattanooga rate as like a key grip who's, one of the main roles on the set. If you come on set, you're making industry rates, which means they're going to be making what they'd be making in LA or Atlanta or New York or wherever else. So that will be the standard. There's no getting around that because you won't be able to crew production, right? Union or not, it won't get crewed because you're underpaying people, and people are like, I don't want to work with them. They underpay us, and that means they're going to treat us poorly. You can't get away with it. It's not economically possible. So in this case, they'll be making far and beyond the average income in Chattanooga just because of the industry they're representing in their work.
I think that's what I wanted to hear. I may have some more questions.
That's fine.
I hope to follow up before Wednesday of next week.
Perfect.
To see if we can get those answered. But I appreciate you guys being here today. Thanks for the full video. And yeah, thanks for being here. Chairman, thank you for the time.
How you guys doing?
I'm good.
So me, I'm a songwriter, producer, music exec. So I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, right? So which is a small city where it was no music industry. So this means a lot to me because I had to move from New Orleans to go to Atlanta to chase my dream. There was no opportunity in New Orleans. There was no A&R. There was no studios down the hallway. You can see Rodney Jerkins walking into there. You get the opportunity to get on Justin Bieber. You get the opportunity to become Grammy nominated. So it took me leaving my city to go to a bigger city to get the opportunity to chase my career. So the fact that something like that is coming here where kids can stay home and think about like all the moments I miss around my parents chasing my career. If I had something like that at home, that would have been a big difference maybe. You know what I'm saying? So I think this is a huge opportunity, and for also for people to just believe and feel like they can go after their dream and achieve it without leaving home. So that's a big thing to me. That was very important because if I regretted something about my career, it was that I had to leave home to go chase it because there was no opportunity home to get it. So that's all.
Thank you.
Commissioner Graham.
I'm glad you said that. That was not part of my question, but I'm glad you said that because we just talked earlier and you all patiently waited on us to get through all that. But we graduate 5,000 kids a year here. And I'm a dad, I'm a grandfather. I don't want my kids to go off somewhere. I want my kids to have a career here. I want them to work and thrive and be close to us. You know, maybe that's selfish, maybe it's not, but I want my grandkids to have that as well, what you didn't have down in Louisiana. So I was hoping, that's why I'm excited about this. So I do have some questions. And on the education piece, how does this tie into the new technical school downtown?
It doesn't formally tie in just yet, but they're still in the early phases and preliminary programming models for that space. I've spoken with the county about it and expressed our support and enthusiasm for being involved. So if the opportunity presents itself, we're all about it. But from some of the programming that will be there that I'm certain of, it will still benefit from this because if you're on a movie set, it's not just about who holds the camera, it's who's doing the lights or directing or who's acting. We just shot a movie here which did its global theatrical release this past Friday was the premiere, and it's going crazy. We shot it all in Chattanooga. The first 2.5 or 3 weeks was building a set, which we built a 2-story Victorian home in one of Jimmy's warehouses. But that was all carpenters, and it still has to be up to code, it still has to be up to spec. So it's not like there's space and you're just building, walls with, the studs are just at the corner of the walls. You still have to space them 16 inches. And the electrical that has to be run through it is still run by an electrician. So there's a lot of traditional blue collar trades work that will actually be directly tied to this. And you can check out Humanot, who's probably the most successful agency in Chattanooga. They're top 10 globally for a while because they did brands like Liquid Death and Llama Socks and all these other legendary ad campaigns and brand development. But they've got a whole wood shop in their facility, and they've got full-time carpenters who build their sets. So it's long answer to your question, but whether we're physically in that space or not, we'll still be adding value there and affiliated.
So the students you've already worked with, Kessler, the students you've already worked with, and I've seen some of your videos where they were producing some pretty big names, music videos or music. So they came right out of high school being trained by your group, the Dynamo. Can you tell us just real briefly, tell us what kind of career path that put those kids on and what kind of wages they were making?
Yeah, I've got one student. He came to us during one of our programs. He heard about it through the city. It was just a summer camp, and he worked with us, and now he's a full-time content creator for the Pacers. He worked for what is it? The team in Milwaukee. I'm blanking on, but the Bucks. There we go. He created content for them. So, he came right out of school making great money creating, right? I've had other students. It's not just about them getting a career specifically in the entertainment space, but the entertainment development process facilitates a lot of skills development. So for me, I came up as a musician playing in bands and had success pretty early and got signed to major labels like as early as high school, which was really cool. But I realized I didn't need a degree in it because I was already doing it, right? So I got a degree in education for world history and political science because everybody had that history teacher move the needle, right? And I was like, I want to be that guy if music doesn't work out. Both worked out, so here we are. So anyways, long and short of that, the reason I'm saying all that is where I'm at now, running all these businesses, managing multi-million-dollar projects, meeting with the governor and other major political leaders. All that skill set, the whole repertoire of everything I've learned was through the music production process in the music industry. I couldn't just be a musician in a band. I had to learn personal finance, small business finance, marketing, legal, management, team development, project development, content creation. You can't just do one thing. You have to learn all of it, and it's just an inherent part of the process.
So you teach them their trade. You teach them how to manage the trade. You teach them how to manage their money, and you teach them how to build a career that's sustaining for the rest of their life.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so if they go into the entertainment industry, great, but they're going to be well versed and well equipped to do a lot of other things. I have another student. She was really into concert photography and learned a bunch of stuff, and now she's a private pilot and got her private pilot license at like 22, which is insane. And she's making great money flying people around, but she had to develop her own business around that, and she did that off of what we taught her.
Okay. I do have a question for Todd, but I want to ask you something else. So the people that are listening to the meeting, some of the people that stayed for the meeting, I like to throw a summary out there. And so correct me if I'm wrong, because when I'm out into my district and explaining this, and I've already had to explain it several times, the computer data center, whatever you want to call it, it's about 7,000 to 10,000 square feet of the building. So it's not like what's going on in anywhere else, these million square feet buildings. You're going to do as much local hiring as you possibly can, correct? All right. And you're still going to have the education piece included in this going forward, which is what started this in the first place. Where the start of this, there was no revenue coming into the county annually, and now it's going to be $375 a year with a 3% bump, right?
Not inclusive of the taxes generated.
Exactly. And then about $100 million investment, with only 20 million of it being equipment. So roughly about $100 million investment that you all are going to make, not the taxpayers. It's not going to cost the taxpayers a dime.
Sure.
Right. And that building right now is generating how much money? Zero. It's costing us money. That's right. It's costing us money. So I see that positive. The questions that were asked earlier about jobs, I see that as positive. I do have a question about, maybe this is for the attorney, but in a commercial lease, and I have a few, in a commercial lease, they will be required to carry their own insurance. Will we be amended on there as a rider? So if anybody in that industry gets sued, it'll cover us as well. So Hamilton County won't be on the hook for any insurance.
Yes, sir.
So we're covered. And then the other question, and maybe it's for you too, county attorney, is the clawbacks. So if all this doesn't meet our expectations, right? And if the general public is very mad at what we've done here with this building and it hasn't met our expectations, which after a $100 million investment, I find that hard to believe. But I'm just being devil's advocate here. So the clawbacks that are included in this lease, can you explain them roughly?
Are you talking about the remedies if they default?
Yeah.
Then we can terminate, repossess, and release the property to any other tenant.
With all the improvements that have been done, will be ours anyway.
Yes.
And my understanding, and maybe Mr. White, you can explain that one more time, just to be simple. You're gonna redo the electrical, you're gonna redo the HVAC, you're gonna redo the plumbing. Is there anything you're not gonna redo?
I can't think of anything. And we may keep the intake door because of the cool factor, but in some of the jail cells, as I mentioned, but we'll even improve those. So, but yes, I mean, it's a complete rehab.
And maybe this is a silly question, but you know, Usher being from here, if we'd have had this in place already, or the Dynamo in schools, would he have been able to build his career? I'm just using him as an example. Would he or the next artist, would they be able to actually build their career here?
100%. Yes, sir.
Okay. That answers my question. Thank you. Oh,
One thing, another thing you gotta realize, Chat is the bridge between Atlanta and Nashville. So it's like in the middle. So now when you get something like this, people want to come. They want to come. They want to come to Chat. Other entertainers, other country artists, R&B artists, hip hop artists, whole 9 yards. Gonna want to come because this hot spot. We have Usher on board. We have myself on board. We have Rodney Jerkins on board. We have, you know, people who want to put out hits, put out hit records and have success. So now that just give the next Rodney Jerkins, the next V Script, the next Usher. Now they have access to us, and now it's the bridge to the industry.
Let me ask you this: so all this talent that may or may not be coming to our town to use this studio, they're going to have to eat downtown, are they not?
Yes.
So they're going to use our restaurants, right?
Oh yes.
So they're
yes.
going to want to see our aquarium or our Ruby Falls or our Point Park. I mean, they're going to want to use our facilities, correct?
And yes.
And they're going to bring people to our hotels. We talked
Absolutely.
earlier about hotel occupancy being low. So they're going to bring all these people in and their crews in. And I mean, they're all going to be using our hotels too, right?
Yes. Yes. And that's
So-
not even including just like when we have writing camps, when we do writing camps with artists, with popular artists that's working on their albums. Yo, hey, let's do it in Chattanooga. Let's fly to Chattanooga and let's spend a week in Chattanooga and do the whole album. So now they're gonna be able to go downtown, be able to eat at this restaurant, that restaurant, and get the full experience. You know, so that's the beauty of it.
And that's what I'm getting at. Downtown needs a shot in the arm, right? And this is going to be a huge shot for downtown, the hotels downtown, the restaurants downtown, the activities downtown. But I can't let you go without saying one more thing. We have a star amongst us in this room. We have a movie star right here. This gentleman was in the movie 42.
Oh, wow.
He sure was. He sure was. So we have a movie star in our room. Thank you, gentlemen. I look forward to this coming up. I look forward to working with you all in the future. I think this is a great project. I think a lot of the questions from the audience have been answered already here today. I appreciate all you've done. Todd Lehman, I appreciate all the hard work you've done. Mike, I appreciate all the hard work you've done. I think myself, I think it's a great use of that building. And this is going to not only help the community, but it's going to help a lot of kids in our community. So thank you, gentlemen.
Commissioner Shipley, no further lights.
Jimmy, thank you for using Hamilton County and Chattanooga.
Thanks, sir. No, this is home. You know, I'm a third, fourth generation Chattanoogan, depending upon how you look at South Pittsburgh. But, you know, growing up in Ooltewah, I've seen the city change, I think for the better, but we got a long way to go. And so I'm glad to be a part of it.
You can come outside dating one day.
Yes, sir. Played a lot of baseball out there. You did a great job with those ball fields.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Madam Clerk, 326-18.
Resolution 326-18, a resolution authorizing the Office of Economic and Community Development to apply for a grant from the Tennessee Opioid Abatement Council Cycle 3 program not to exceed $9 million, a total of up to $3 million per year, requiring no match.
Hi, y'all. How are you doing? I was hoping to take a couple minutes to talk on this grant application, if it's okay. I
You
think
can have 20, 30, 40 minutes, whatever.
All right,
what-
y'all
whatever
ready?
you need.
Buckle up. 45. You heard
Whatever
them.
you need.
All right, so a brief overview. This grant's purposes is to resource the continuation and strengthen the expansion of our existing county and federal investments in our pilot medication-assisted treatment at the jail program. We will be submitting a collaborative application. Our main partner, of course, is the sheriff's office, as well as local community partners. But I just wanted to ground and touch base while we have this grant up. Medication-assisted treatment refers to pairing medication with clinical interventions. This strategy for addressing opioid use disorder, research shows reduces mortality, it reduces overdose, it increases retention, so folks stay with treatment longer, it increases physical and mental stabilization, and it improves social functioning. I do want to give just a little bit of an update because we've brought this project to y'all many times over the past 3 years. But before I jump into that, I do want to acknowledge that Gail Lodato, the Regional Vice President of the Helen Ross McNabb Center, is here. She obviously is an amazing partner. It's 7 p.m. She came here at 4 p.m. From the very beginning, back when I didn't know how to spell opioid, Gail took my hand and she showed me around. She drove me out to their sites outside of Knoxville. I was an hour late. I'm so sorry. But has been constantly educating me, the county, and all of our partners about how to tackle this issue. She's been with us every step of the way as we've learned how to distribute these funds and what to apply for and where to put our resources. This all began in 2023. I think all of us in this room remember it was an unprecedented time. We started to see settlement dollars flowing in to local municipalities. At the end of the day, I'm just a government girl. I don't know what to do with that money. It's not my profession. And so it became a question of how to take the expertise from our community and try to turn that into some actionable strategies. We formed a strategic advisory group of about 30 to 40 individuals from across our community that range from professionals in the field to affected parents who were very personally affected by this issue. As well as community partners. If somebody had a hand in this issue, they were telling us at the county what to do with it, how to think about these resources. One of the main issues that became elevated was how could we engage therapeutic interventions within a criminal justice setting? And very, very luckily, we had a sheriff's office that was willing to partner with us. Chief Bernard, I don't know if you loved traveling with me to DC to learn about this or if that was a terrible memory, but he was with us every step of the way as we went from idea to structure. We've applied for 3 grants to fund the medication-assisted treatment at the jail program. The first was the Opioid Abatement Council. That's the state body that tries to determine grant distribution from settlement resources. We did not get that in round 1, but we kept going. The second grant we applied for was $250,000. We got that. The third grant that we applied for was a BJA grant, about $1.2 million. We received that as well. Our main partners in that are the same folks I mentioned. Again, the individuals at the McNabb Center, their staff wake up every day and they provide therapeutic interventions. We just graduated at the jail, our first cohort of 7 individuals in February that went through this program. That's incredible. It's amazing to see individuals deeply touched by this work. Of course, Gail is here if you have questions from the clinical intervention side of things, but again, we couldn't have done it without her. This grant is $9 million. The focus is to try to ensure that our corrections and criminal justice partners have the resources they need, but it will also allow us to potentially expand the intervention post-exit more concretely. So how can we stay with individuals over time? So thank you. I am deeply passionate about this program. I'm sure you can tell. I think it will change lives. I think it will improve our community's resilience. I think it will ensure that we have better recidivism rates. It will lower costs in our private and public sectors, and it will heal families. So that's the background.
Commissioner Sharp.
Thank you, Chairman. Alexa, thank you for bringing this here. I can see the passion in your eyes, hear it in your voice. I'm really glad that you are taking this on. I've got a lot of faith in you. You do great work. I know you're passionate about people, helping people. So thank you. Several years ago, we had the opportunity to get some pretty big federal grants around frequent users. A lot of that has to do with substance abuse, as far as wraparound services or I don't know, potentially endless support. And it didn't turn out how I wanted it to turn out. It's a lot of money. And I have faith in you, but with a lot of money comes a lot of responsibility.
Yes.
And it seems like you've brought on some partners who are very experienced in this, which gives me a lot more faith. And I appreciate that. I'd like to know more about it when we get together and talk more about this.
Yes. Yes.
That's a lot of money, and I want to make sure that, you know, I understand how it's working and that we're doing it the right way. So
Absolutely.
thank you for agreeing to that. And Chairman, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioner Mackey?
Thank you, Chair. One quick question. How broad is this program? Is it just Chattanooga, area-wide, or what?
Chief Bernard, correct me if I'm phrasing the served population incorrectly, but if you flow through the Hamilton County Jail and Detention Center, you're potentially eligible for this program, which means that services aren't necessarily limited to Chattanooga residents or Hamilton County residents. Is that correct? Yeah.
That's good. We had a conversation earlier here, and it had to do with should the program only impact a certain part of the county, or should it impact the whole county? And I think you answered that.
Yeah, in this case, I would say that the costs are borne by the county no matter where somebody's primary residence may be. So hopefully, ideally, these programs would help recidivism rates, period. So if somebody's sadly intersecting with the criminal justice system in Hamilton County, we can use that as a point of intervention and not see you again because you're thriving.
Thank you.
Commissioner Graham?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it's a lot of money, as my colleague said. Is there a mechanism in place how this money is to be spent, or will it come back through the commission?
Oh, yes. If we get it to accept, we'll come back through. This
So
is just to apply.
every time the money's being spent, it'll still come back through here. I mean, we'll all get our eyes back on it again and get to vote on it.
If we accept, then any change or adjustment or each fiscal year, I believe it would come before you again. Lee, is that correct? Not every expenditure.
Yeah, basically, they will come back to you to accept the grant. Once it's accepted, it will be budgeted, and those expenses will, obviously for the budget, will have to be approved by you. And then the only thing you would see after that would be anything requiring purchase adjustment. Anything if they purchase anything over $50,000 would come back to you to approve that contract.
Well, that's really where my question was. So our purchasing requirements or rules and regulations will still apply to this money.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what are our chances of getting this if we apply for it? I mean, are they strong?
I mean, y'all know that I always think my applications are strong. I think the partners we have at the table, the fact that we got to know year one and we went out and did it anyway and found other funding resources, the fact that I think the program is thriving and touching lives and there's already coverage and awareness of it, I think speaks volumes to the fact that our team doesn't take no for an answer and we're going to make it happen anyway. So I would like to say strong. It's not just, Chief Bernard and I flying solo. We have incredible partners who know what they do when they wake up and do this every day. So I feel great about it, but maybe I'm subjective.
Well, I have total faith in you, and you've
Thank
already
you.
proven yourself many times over, many times over. So the only question they ask now is, what are our chances to get this money if we don't apply?
0.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Shipley, no further lights? No lights.
You okay? All right. Thank you, y'all.
Thank you.
All right. Move on to rules and legislative. Commissioner Hilton.
Thank you, Chairman. Madam Clerk, could you read 326-19?
Resolution 326-19, a resolution reaffirming Hamilton County as a hybrid entity and designating its covered entity components and Part 2 programs.
No lights. We'll take this up next week. Oh, yes.
Madam Attorney, thank you for taking this on and keeping us compliant. It is very important that we are, and we very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Stark.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Attorney, we had some email conversation. Were those adjustments made to the resolution? Or is it the same one that you emailed out to us?
It's the same one that I emailed out.
Okay.
I can make the adjustments like I said I would,
Okay.
but I didn't want to do that before it coming to the body.
No, I understand. I didn't want to talk about it if it was already done. I was just going to
No.
move on. Okay. So there's just a couple of things in here that gave me a little bit of heartburn. And I wanted to address it with the body. I think I don't have my list ready here, but I'm going to try to get on it here. The Hamilton County Board of Commissioners desires to delegate their authority to modify, create, and approve new policies. That I'm a little concerned about. I think if any new policies are modified or created, then they need to be approved by this body.
And I agree. So I can definitely take out the word approve in that paragraph, which is the first paragraph for everybody's reference on page 2 of the resolution.
That's right. The other part that I want to be, well, actually, there was another part too. Be it further resolved that Hamilton County delegates authority to modify, create, and implement new policies. And that's on the last page, the 5th page of the resolution, 2nd paragraph.
And again, my suggestion would be to take out the word implement or say implement and then subject to the commission's approval.
I think the part, yeah, I guess that's okay. Hamilton County delegates authority to modify and create.
And if I may, the reason why is because it is the HIPAA privacy officer and the compliance officer's duties to create, modify, and review the policies regularly, and then present them to this board for approval.
Right. Okay. Well, that makes sense. And then it would come here for approval.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see, where's the other one? Oh yeah. And this is, I guess it goes over from page 4 to 5, be it further resolved, yada, yada. As such, the privacy officer shall have reasonable access.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to understand more about what reasonable, the definition of reasonable.
So I did include this in my email back to you, and I don't have the response
That's
in
okay.
front of me. However, I know there had been talk in the past about whether the HIPAA privacy officer should have, quote, unfettered access versus some access that was reasonable in light of her job or his job, but also takes into account the interesting nature of government business, which also has other confidentiality, privileged communications that also have to be taken into account.
So then, I'm sorry, I apologize. Go ahead.
So just because a HIPAA privacy officer has certain access to certain things and is entitled to access to certain things does not mean that that person should have unfettered access that should trump all other confidential and privileged protections that the government entities have.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. So then, as such, the privacy officer shall have access to all information necessary for performing their work.
Yeah, and I think, as I
That makes
recall, I think I said that that paragraph probably needs to be read in total, because I think it said the HIPAA privacy officer shall be granted reasonable access, and then it includes to all different types of policies, procedures, blah, 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 and then as necessary. And then it goes into what her role is, which is creating policies, investigating HIPAA complaints, things like that. And so I think that paragraph, in order to understand what reasonable access means, needs to be read in total.
Okay, so do you still contend that reasonable is necessary? Because I don't see it as being necessary. I think it just adds an opportunity for conflict.
I think I don't know that I understand what you just said.
I'm asking if you would agree that striking the word reasonable, knowing that all the rest of that language is below, would be appropriate.
I think there still has to be some collaborative nature between the HIPAA privacy officer and administrators about the type of access that is granted and when. And that requires some level of collaboration.
So if there were issues regarding, concerns about, potential issues, or problems, I know that privacy officers, part of their role is to audit. And my understanding of audits is that it's not always collaborative. That's the reason why I feel that reasonable kind of clouds that and gives the opportunity for folks to say, no, what you're asking isn't reasonable, even if it is truly a function of the job.
I think, again, if you look at the paragraph as a whole, which explains what the role of the privacy officer is, and that role is to have access to all PHI and any materials related to HIPAA and Part 2 compliance, such as policies, procedures, standard operating procedures, and training materials, that having a reasonableness requirement there, I think, creates a level of checks and balances that I think is necessary when it comes to a government entity. And actually, I looked into this today, and the Office of Inspector General actually agrees with me and says that compliance officials should have sufficient authorization, access to relevant information, but it should not, and they should not have unrestricted and constant access.
So could we change reasonable to sufficient?
Sure.
That would be great. The only other thing I want to do that I noticed, and it's not that I take issue with it, but it is, I think we have some opportunity here to be potentially a little more, conservative with taxpayer dollars, maybe. There's the list here about a HIPAA privacy officer and a HIPAA security officer. Chairman, if I could ask, I think if I remember correctly, I believe that our HIPAA privacy officer is certified in security as well. And if we could save a whole position by not creating that new position, we could save benefits, provided that our security officer is willing and believes that she could take on that role. I think that that's something that we should look at. I see Ms. Duncan is in the office, is in the room. Would it be okay if we ask her?
Mr. Chairman, this
Chairman?
This is mine. Sorry. Yeah, I'm okay with asking her. I think. Yeah, sure. Let's ask.
Okay. Hello, Ms. Duncan.
Hello.
I'm glad you're here today, and I apologize for putting you on the spot. I know it's uncomfortable, a little uncomfortable for me too. But I think you've done such a great job working with Attorney Varnell and their office and putting all this together. To only find a couple little things that I wanted to kind of tweak a little bit, I think is great, and I appreciate that. I know that in previous conversations, we've talked about your certifications and qualifications to perform both roles of privacy officer and security officer. And I don't know precisely the amount of work, but I do know that we're going into a really tight budget year. And I think that a lot of people are going to be looking at trimming personnel. And I'm just curious, is this performing both of these roles? Is that something that you think that you could handle?
Well, first of all, I am just wanting to say that I'm truly enjoying working for the county attorney's office again. Janie has been fantastic, and so is the rest of the staff. If I could just say the strides that we have made, it blows my mind, and I appreciate that very much. So I would say, whatever I do, I want to continue that relationship to be as positive as it has been. So I only want to do what she believes that I can do. But I would say that I am certified. We do have policies and procedures. If I were to tell you again what is required for privacy and security, both are included in the 45 CFR. Both require policies and procedures. Both require training. Both require auditing, and both require breach investigation. Since I've started working with Janie again, we've finalized our policies to the point where after y'all vote on the resolution, she's going to look at it, and then we're going to try to roll those out and start training. We already have security policies in those policies, so that's checked off for both. We'll have to do training for both. There is a security risk assessment that has to be performed annually. It's not something that you develop. It's something that you provide to each of the staff for them to complete annually. That's already done. We already have it in the policy to be executed, so that's checked off. And the last is breach investigations, which I've been handling. So again, I only want to do what Janie Varnell says that I'm permitted to do, that I'm ready and capable to do whatever it is that y'all decide.
Thank you.
Which I want me to do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chairman, I think that answers my questions.
Okay.
Thank you for the time.
You know, my only concern with that last portion is having both the privacy and security officer as the same individual. I'd like to see what common practice is. If that's normal in an organization of this size, I'd be curious about that. I don't know who we would refer to. We go back to, Baker Donaldson, or
If I may, we already have in the budget for a security officer. We've been working with finance, and we've already allocated for a member of our IT personnel to achieve some extra certifications to become our HIPAA security officer. That ended up being more financially fiscal for the county than hiring somebody. And this was what was recommended by Baker Donaldson.
okay, thank you. I love the idea of saving a position if we can, but we put so much focus into this effort to do things right. And as we talk about all the ramifications from doing them properly, I say we, as a county, need to follow through and make sure the org is set up as it should be. Do we have any other one?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on that. That's interesting. I'd like to look back at that Baker Donaldson recommendation. My understanding from the conversations is that separating operational and um, and I'm sorry. No. Regulatory functions in IT is the recommendation for that, but I could be mistaken.
We've got a week to.
Yeah, we got a week to figure
square
it
that
out.
away.
So that's great. We'll look into it. Thank you.
No further lights. We'll take it up next week. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to public safety, Commissioner Beck, sir, you've got 5 resolutions.
Madam Clerk, would you read, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Clerk, would you read 32620, please?
Resolution 326-20, a resolution accepting the proposal from Garland DBS Inc. from the Omnia Partners Purchasing Corporative for the replacement of the existing Hamilton County Jail and Detention Center Delta building roof, amounting to a total of $619,785 for the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, and authorizing the county mayor to sign any contracts necessary to implement this resolution.
Ron, would you give us a little
Good evening, Ron Bernard.
please, please?
I'm sorry.
Thank you. My mic went off. Go ahead.
Okay, Ron Bernard, Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, 600 Market Street. Yeah, this is a drawdown financially on the recent bond money that was allocated to the Sheriff's Office. This will be a replacement roof on our Delta housing unit out at the jail. Continuation of some deferred maintenance and repairs that we're doing out at the jail. So we've replaced Echo Building's roof, Charlie Building, and now this will be Delta. It's a 30-year warranty.
How many more do you have left?
I think that's it for total roof replacement.
Thank you. Any questions, committee? Thank you. We'll be taking a look at that. Next week, Madam Clerk, would you read 32621, please?
Resolution 326-21, a resolution authorizing the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office to apply for and accept, if awarded, a grant from the Office of Criminal Justice Programs Project Safe Neighborhood Grant Program, increasing both revenue and expenditure of the Sheriff's Office by up to $47,608 with no local match required.
Thank you, and you can go ahead if you want to, but no match required is the magic word around here.
Yeah, it's a second time we've gone after this grant. We were awarded roughly about the same amount of money previously, and it's really to target gang violence reduction in the area.
Thank you. Would you, Madam Clerk, read 32622, please?
Resolution 326-22, a resolution accepting the proposal from Daikin Applied from the Omnia Partners Public Sector Purchasing Corporative for HVAC installation at the Hamilton County LEOC amounting to a total of $282,675 for the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, and authorizing the county mayor to sign any contracts necessary to implement this resolution.
Which is another drawdown from that bond fund.
Yes, sir,
All right.
financially. And then this is for the Leoc building where our property and evidence will be located. And this is the final item we need there to get that property and evidence moved from our Dayton Boulevard location to there.
Thank you. Any questions? Do we have any questions? Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, 32623, please.
Resolution 326-23, a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Tennessee Highway Safety Office for federal fiscal year 2027 highway safety funding with no required local match.
Thank you. Have we applied, did we apply last year for this grant?
Yes, we did.
how
Well,
often do
we might have skipped last year because there's a lot of overtime that's tied to it. Although this year they've changed the rules a little bit. So what we're targeting here is there'll be some overtime for that initiative that it's grant funded. And then also there's potentially monies to do speed trailers throughout the county. So we're hoping that we're awarded this. Now we aren't doing an apply and accept here because we don't know the amount they're going to give us. So what will happen is we'll apply upon your approval, and then when it's accepted, when they reach out, then we'll know the amount and we'll come back to do the accept.
Thank you. Any more questions? Chairman, thank you.
You got one more?
Yeah, I got Keith on this. Juvenile court. How do you say that? Come on, man. Madam Clerk, would you read 32624, please?
Resolution 326-24, a resolution authorizing a contract between the State of Tennessee Department of Human Services and the Juvenile Court Child Support Division of Hamilton County, Tennessee, and authorizing the county mayor to sign any contracts necessary to implement this resolution.
Thank you. Would you give us a little overview of this? I didn't see the magic word on that, but go ahead.
Well, and there's a catch to this one, but this is just the annual renewal of the grant that the state gives us. Basically, they pay 66% of our child support court. And so while it says there's a match, we would be required to fund the child support court anyway. So this is in essence just getting money from the state to run something we would have to do anyway. And so this is just the renewal that we get every year. It has gone up a little bit every year and again this year.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. That's all I have, Commissioner.
Thank you all.
We'll move to Public Works and Zoning. Commissioner Highlander, we've got 4 resolutions, sir.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, may I bundle the first 2?
Please do.
Ma'am, would you read 32625 and 32626, please, ma'am?
Resolution 326-25, a resolution accepting the bid of Lookout Pest Control LLC for 3-year contract unit pricing with the option to renew for 2 additional 2-year terms for pest and rodent control services for the Support Services Department and authorizing the county mayor to sign any contracts necessary to implement this resolution. Resolution 326-26, a resolution accepting the bid of Liberty Tire Recycling LLC for 3-year contract unit pricing with the option to renew for 1 additional 3-year term for waste tire beneficial end-use disposal services for the Support Services Department and authorizing the county mayor to sign any contracts necessary to implement this resolution.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Lehman, these are both just continuations and standard procedure, correct?
Yes, they're unit price contracts. I will mention the first one for pest control. We have, Lookout Pest has done it before. They are not our current vendor, Bug Busters is, but Lookout Pest was the lower bid on that one for unit price, and we're comfortable with their service. And yes, the second one is the existing Liberty Tires also is currently doing our end use tire recycling. So this is, and they were the only bid on that one.
We love comfortable and low bid. Thank you, sir. Next, ma'am, if you would please read 32627.
Resolution 326-27, a resolution to rezone from A1 Agricultural District to R1 Single Family Residential District with conditions for property located at 1835 Crabtree Road.
I've got, Brian's going to discuss it. Are you the applicant, sir? Or you're on the next one? Okay. Is the applicant here? I don't know if you'll need to come up or not, but if you'd be prepared, we'd appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, you said I had like 30 minutes to speak on this case. 45.
Oh, no,
Got you.
only 45.
I can make it last an hour if you want me to.
No, hopefully you won't be needed if you'll be prepared just in case. Brian, would you discuss this?
Sure.
please?
Mr. Chairman did tell me to go pretty quick. I don't even need a presentation as Chairman Smith wants me to go. Both these cases are actually in Chairman Smith's district. This first case is the rezone from A1 to R1 on Crabtree Road near the Dallas Bay Airport landing strip. This is a request to go from A1 to R1. Staff reviewed it, recommended to approve with conditions. This request does comply with Plan Hamilton, so the Planning Commission agreed. There was no opposition at the Planning Commission and recommended to approve with 2 conditions.
Thank you. Are you okay with those 2 conditions?
And those 2 conditions were limited to 50 units and sidewalks throughout the subdivision, which is recommended in Plan Hamilton.
Is there any opposition present? We'll act on it. And I used to live on Crabtree Road, so I understand it's growing up. Thank you. Ma'am, if you would please read 32628.
Resolution 326-28, a resolution to rezone from R2 Rural Residential District to C2 Local Business Commercial District with conditions for part of the property located at 7710 Hickson Pike.
If the applicant is here, he'll be ready to prepare to speak if necessary. Brian, would you go on, please?
Yes. This applicant said he would never apply for rezoning again. I put word in his mouth.
That's the trick.
No, he's coming before you to rezone a piece of property at 7710 Hickson Pike for equipment storage, if you will. It's rezoned from R2 to C2. Everything around this is commercially zoned. There was no opposition at Planning Commission. The plan supports this. Staff recommended to approve with conditions, limiting out some of the noxious uses like automobile repair and automobile sales. Planning Commission agreed and recommended to approve with that same condition.
Are you okay with the condition, sir?
Yeah.
Well, let's act on it.
Hang on, can I ask the question?
Yes, sir.
Brian, the conditions, do you have a list of what is prohibited?
Yes, we do.
I would love to hear it.
What's prohibited is automobile service stations, automobile display rooms, parking lots or storage garages, used car lots, automobile record service, tanks for the commercial retail distribution of flammable liquids or gases, off-premise signs, adult-oriented establishments, and car wash, auto wash uses are prohibited.
Works for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, sir, for your patience.
All right, with that, we are done. Thank you.